Hello, my name's Tim. Welcome to Tim Burbage Reads. And today I'm going to be talking to you about how I spent over half a year reading a book that I didn't even really like. So today I'm going to be talking about Dracula by Bram Stoker. Absolute literary classic. I tried reading this before. I didn't have a strict reading habit at the time. I picked it up for free on the Kindle store and thought, hey, it's a classic for a reason, right? In my life, I've previously had no interest in vampires. Hadn't read any Anne Rice. Hadn't read or seen Salem's Lot. No interest in Twilight. Never seen the Blade movies. In fact, the only vampire I had any affinity for was the Count that loved to count from Sesame Street, who is the goat of vampires, by the way. But I thought, hey, I'd jump in, and maybe I would become a vampire fan from reading the original. I really enjoyed the opening with Jonathan Harker in Castle Dracula. Just incredible. I mean, who wouldn't? You know, it's exactly what you expect from Dracula. You got vampire bride, you've got howling wolves, the Count being mysterious and fanged and climbing down walls, and atmosphere and dread cranked up to 11. It was pretty amazing. And then the book turned into diary entries of two women talking about finding suitors and fancying boys. What? I thought my copy had turned into like Pride and Prejudice or something like that. What's going on? This isn't what I signed up for at all. So I DNF'd it then and put it down and went, that's pretty rubbish. Kind of put it out of my mind. And that was 14 years ago. I went through that experience. That makes me feel old. Then I was watching a BookTube video of someone called Charlie. Charlie read a book, or Charlie read a book. Check him out. I'll put him in the links below. He talked about how Dracula was one of his favourite books. And he read it in a completely different way, using a method called Dracula Daily. And I really like Charlie. I kind of agree with him on a lot of books. I don't agree with him on every book, so it's quite interesting. I like that. And but Dracula's one of his favourites, so I was like, oh, you know, I'll go have a look at this thing. And Dracula Daily is a substack, which is this online thing, where with Dracula is written in diary entries. You are sent the diary entries in real time. So you read Dracula in real time, and you get them emailed to you. So it was a pretty strange experience getting emails from Dracula. It really restricted your reading speed, as some days you got nothing. Some days you got a paragraph, and then some days you got large entries that took a solid chunk of your day to read, and you don't know what you're getting. And then, you know, there's an additional level of difference, because when you're busy at work or whatever, and then you get a ping as Dracula has sent you another email to read. The difference in reading format can make the book feel a lot like work, ultimately. I'm there at my computer, I'm doing work, and I get another email to do. So this actually led me to putting off parts, especially if you see it's a really big email, and then getting behind. I was actually getting stressed because I hadn't caught up with my Dracula workload. Seems bizarre, but there we are. So in the end, it took me 202 days to read this book. There were 107 days of entries to read during that period. So now all the formatting and the history out the way, what did I think of the actual book? A bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. Again, when I reread it, I really liked the Jonathan Harker opening. By getting it daily, you saw the gradual shift of madness and the dread piling up over time as he realised the danger of his situation. Then we jump into the romance phase of the book, and by reading it in small chunks, it actually made it much more manageable. I got less annoyed because I was reading little chunks of annoyance throughout the week, rather than whole sections of annoyance. And you could see, and it was just a short letter, and you could kind of read that and get through it. Then we get to the mystery phase of the book, or more accurately, the dramatic irony phase. Because now, Dracula, vampires were in common media. so we know the rules and the details, but the characters in this situation don't. This isn't the book's fault, necessarily, but I still found it excruciating. Just day after day of people gathering around young Lucy Westenra. She has woken up and looks very pale, as if her blood has been drained. There are no marks on her. Oh, except for these 2 little holes in her neck. Did you see anything strange? Oh, no, Mr. Doctor, sir. Nothing out of the ordinary. Oh, except I walked in and someone had laid all this garlic everywhere, so I got rid of that. And then later on in the night, there was this little bat flying around. I found it sitting on her neck, in fact, sir. But I batted it away. The bat has been around every night, but it doesn't seem to mean anything. What a conundrum. Ugh. For months. I think the section prose-wise isn't that long, but having it dragged out over weeks and months made it very, very annoying to read. We do have the odd section of the Trip of the Demeter, which is the boat that Dracula rides on. And this was brilliant. I'm reading how the ship's crew depletes one by one and no one knows how or why. Is incredibly tense and tragic. Reading that day to day was brilliant. Fantastic. I'd like to read more of that kind of stuff. Then poor Lucy dies. Very sad. And we have more mystery as they're trying to find out what's happening with the kids who are being drained of blood and this mysterious bloofer lady who is kidnapping kids. Again, it's so obviously Lucy, but they don't figure it out very quickly. It's incredibly annoying, and it feels like time wasting. Again, you're spending days, weeks reading about this. Then you have the whole Renfield subplot. So Renfield is a character. I know they made a film about it, starring Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage, and maybe some other Nicholases. But I hadn't got to Renfield by the time I was reading the book normally, so this character was new to me. What's the point of him? He's a gross, crazy person who's being locked up in an asylum, and he captures bugs and he eats them, and then he uses bugs to capture spiders, and then he eats them, and then he wants to use them to capture mice and then cats, and he just wants to consume life, and it's like zoophagia, they call it. It's like, and it's very gross to read. He kind of talks loosely about Dracula. He's like, oh, he is coming, stuff like that. And then Dracula meets him, and then Dracula kills him. Why? Why was it there? And again, because you're reading this in real time, you get fed the Renfield stuff really early. Some of the earliest chapters you read are about Renfield. So you read about him for months. And then he doesn't do anything. What a waste of time. So then you deal with Lucy, who's now the bloofer lady, and we get into the end game with chases through London and into Europe. Here we get Dracula actually doing stuff, and that's exciting. I think it's quite funny. I think they actually only meet Dracula about 2 weeks before the end of the story. That's the first time they actually meet face to face, apart from Jonathan Harker at the start. They have one conversation, and that's it. We have a ticking clock, because Mina is potentially, going through this transformation. And we see the brides again, and there are wolves, and that bit's pretty good. Like, the build-up to the climax is pretty good, because it's tense. The climax itself is a bit of a letdown, because Jonathan Harker manages to kill Dracula before he wakes up. The final fight is him just opening a box and hacking a sleeping person. It's not exactly heroic. Let's just say that. From a prose perspective, we get lots of diary entries from different people, and they all sound exactly the same. There's no difference in voice. This meant that the only reason I knew who was what they were talking about. This is about Renfield. Oh, so it must be the doctors. Oh, this is about this, so it must be Lucy. Oh, this is about this, so it must be Mina. Oh, this is about this, so it must be Jonathan. I did find the classic prose a bit difficult to interpret at times. Though when I wanted it though when it wanted to be atmospheric and evocative, it achieved that well. I also got, purely through description, the sexual undertones of vampirism. I can see why that is a theme that is kept running and running throughout vampire fiction. So yeah, overall, it was an interesting experience, but I didn't really like the book that much. Sorry. Yeah, so let me know if you've read Dracula, how wrong I am, or if you've read Dracula Daily and you really enjoyed it. It's obviously now finished for the year, but next year, in, I want to say, March time, it starts up again. So Google that and find that out for you. Please give this video a like, please subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, get out of my house!